I am the one who have been guarding Nora all this time. I won't let those spirits come near my grandchild. Understand? Hi, how are you guys? I hope everyone is doing okay. Thanks for clicking this video. So, KKN or Community Service Program is one of the requirements for graduation in Indonesia. It is a testament that a student can apply what they learn in college, a way to give it back to the community. But what if this program causes casualty? So this story today is originally shared by a Twitter account at Simpleman in 2019. And it went national, because everyone believed it's a real story. I know, 2019, I'm late. But regardless, I want to share them with you. Oh, and there's two different perspectives of this story. Nur perspective and Widya's perspective. Today we'll be discussing Widya's perspective. This story takes place in the late 2009. And for the privacy and the safety of everyone involved, all the names of the places and the people involved has been disguised. Without further ado, let's get to it. So one day in 2009, Widya was anxious thinking about her community service program, but a call broke her thoughts. It was Ayu, her friend. Ayu said, I found a place to do our community service program, a small village at Town B. There's a lot of work plan that we can do there. It's a perfect place for us. And without a second thought, Widya submitted her KKN proposal. The proposal was approved and the group consists of 6 students from 2 different faculties. Widya, Ayu, Nur, Bima, Wahyu, and Anton. So Widya do all her necessary preparation. Long before the night of the briefing, Widya had informed her parents about the KKN she was required to take part in. But the moment they asked where her group will be assigned, her mother's expression shifted. An unmistakable look of disapproval crossed her face. Why does it have to be Town B? Isn't there any other place? Isn't that place basically forest? It's not a place meant for people to live in. But after Widya explained that it has been an initial observation that has been carried out, her mother's expression softened. But still, her mother negotiated. I had a bad feeling about this. Can't you postpone it for a year? Widya refused. And so, though reluctant, they have no choice but to agree. And so the day of their departure arrived. Nur, Ayu, Widya, Bima, Wahyu, and Anton depart to Town B using a minibus. On the way there, it started to rain. And to get there, it roughly took about 6 hours. But this village isn't accessible by car yet, because it's in the middle of the forest. So once they reached the forest entrance, they stopped the car and was picked up by villagers using motorbikes. Now the journey from the entrance of the forest to the village was supposed to only take 30 minutes. But Widya felt like they have been riding for more than an hour. She slowly regretted. Maybe she wasn't ready to spend the next 6 weeks far in the middle of the forest. In the midst of her thoughts, suddenly, she heard a familiar sound in the distance. The beat of kendang, the strike of gong, followed by kenong and kopian blending into a gamelan music. For a moment, Widya wondered if there was a celebration held nearby. But as the gamelan melody faded, a wooden gate came into view, welcoming them into the village. A man has awaited them, and Ayu introduced him as the head of the village, Mr. Prabu. Mr. Prabu introduced himself and told them about the history of this village. Then Widya asked why this village has to be this remote. With a cheerful laugh, Mr. Prabu answered her. What do you mean by remote, miss? The distance to the main road is only 30 minutes. Hearing this, Widya was confused. And Widya's confused expression was met by puzzled look from her friends, as if her question itself was strange. Mr. Prabu immediately stepped in. You're probably just tired, miss. Come on, let me show you where you'll be staying. In the midst of her confusion, Ayu scolded her. What do you even mean, Widya? Why would you ask something like that? You're making me feel embarrassed here. In that moment, Widya realized something is wrong. Now for the boys, the place that they'll be staying is a building oftenly used as a medical service camp. Meanwhile, the girls are staying in one of the villagers' house. At the bedroom, Widya and Ayu argument continued, until Widya brought up this gamelan sound. There, Ayu brushed it off, and said it must have been another village celebration. But Nur, on the other hand, looked at Widya with shock. There isn't any other village around here. There's no way a celebration was held nearby. Old folks say, when you heard a gamelan from nowhere, it's a bad omen. But hearing this, Ayu got angry. Nur, stop your nonsense. You came with me during the initial observation here. It hasn't been a day yet, and you already say things that doesn't make any sense. Ayu walked out, leaving Widya alone with Nur. At that moment, Nur finally revealed, I also heard the gamelan sound. But the problem is, I also saw someone dancing in the road earlier. Hearing that, Widya was even more shocked. Astaghfirullah, she said in disbelief. Nur was about to cry, and Widya can only pull her into a hug, trying to comfort her. Widya thought about what her mother had just said the other day, and she was right. Water always flows to the east, meaning the east is a place where everything gathered to be one, from the bad to the worst. And now Widya had to live in the most east forest. From the beginning, Widya do believe in supernatural things. After all, it was in her religion. But this is her first time experiencing it, even if it's just a sound. Different from Nur, who said she saw someone. She was more sensitive. But this is just the start of their long story. Widya begged Nur not to tell anyone about this. It would be bad if the villager heard about this. Nur nodded. Next morning, all of them went with Mr. Prabhu, who showed them around the village. It was just like a normal KKN day, until they stopped at the cemetery. Strange, that was the first thing that crossed Widya's mind. Because all of the tombstones were covered in black cloth. The cemetery itself was surrounded by a banyan tree, and beside each tree was a stone with offerings in front of it. Nur, who had been laughing earlier, suddenly became so quiet and lowered her gaze, as if she doesn't want to see what's in front of her. When they were about to ask about the cemetery, Mr. Prabhu immediately cut them off. You want to ask why the tombstones were covered in black cloth, right? This is called Sangkarso, a false faith here, so that people know it's a cemetery. An answer that doesn't satisfy the student, until Anton and Wahyu mocked that even an idiot can differentiate between a cemetery and a football field. Mr. Prabhu, who had been smiling, suddenly shifted into an unreadable expression. I hope you know what you're talking about. Widya felt like it was a threatening statement, so they didn't push any further. They continue, and the next place is Sinden, a spring where the water emerged from the ground directly. Pak Prabhu explained that this spring could be one of their most promising projects. Not far from it was a river. He hoped that the spring and the river can be connected, forming some kind of water channel. Before they realized it, the day had turned noon. Ayu and Widya had already mapped everything that Pak Prabhu said, marking each location with color samples, from red to blue, from highest priority to last. And yet throughout the entire trip, Widya kept noticing strange things. The most obvious oddity was, not once or twice, but repeatedly, she saw offering placed in the large woven trays, complete with flowers and food arranged neatly at top. The smell of incense lingering in the air only made her more uneasy. But every time she wanted to ask about it, something whispered inside her that it wasn't a good idea. Oh, and after visiting the spring, Nur asked permission to return home because she wasn't feeling well. Bima willingly escorted her back, leaving only 4 people to continue the observation. Then, they arrived at the most unsettling point, Tapak Tilas. It was a boundary they were strictly forbidden to cross a narrow, hastily made footpath. On both sides of the path hung strips of red cloth tied neatly with yellow palm leaf, resembling decoration used in weddings. And of course, they asked why they weren't allowed to go there. Mr. Prabhu stayed silent for a long time, as if she had prepared an explanation, but was reluctant to say it out loud. He said, "It's just wilderness there. There is nothing. I'm only considering your safety. If you go in there and end up missing or lost, then what?" Once again, the answer only convinced Widya that it wasn't the real reason. But the chill that ran through her spines as she looked at the narrow footpath was unmistakably real. The observation ends there, and Mr. Prabhu led them back to his house. Oh, and there isn't any bathroom on any of the villagers' house due to poor water access.
So if they want to take a bath,
They need to go to the south of the Sinan. There's a stall near the river with a big tub of water inside. And Mr. Prabhu said, from this day onward, they will try to keep the tub full for the girls to bath. And for the boys, they can just refill the water from the river. So they all go home that afternoon. Widya saw Nur has awakened from her nap. Immediately asked Nur to accompany her to take a bath. Nur was reluctant, but agreed, as long as Nur was the first one to bath. So they went to the stall, and Nur went inside first, while Widya waited outside. Widya can't take her eyes off the Sinden, like somehow it piqued her interest. She also noticed offerings in the side of the sinden, but then she noticed the smell of incense, and when she looked around the stall, she saw there was an offering too. And what made it worse was, the incense looked freshly burned. Between shock and fear, Widya hurried back to the bedroom stall door, and from inside she could no longer hear the sound of water being used. Nur? Nur? Widya shouted while banging on the door. Strangely, it was silent. There's no answer from inside. Still trying to call her, she heard a very faint whisper. So faint that Widya had to press her ears against the door. It was someone singing a chant. The chant resembled an old Japanese chime. The voice was soft, so soft, like a delicate singer. Nur, open the door! Nur, open it! Widya pounded on the door, and when it finally opened, Nur looked at her with a panicked expression and asked Widya what happened. But Widya here decided not to tell Nur a thing. She went inside the stall and closed the door behind. The inside of the stall was very damp, the wood already black with moss. In front of her stood a large clay water jar, half of its water already used. Reaching for the dipper made from coconut shell, Widya slowly bathed. The memory of the chant lingered. Widya glanced around. She was not alone. The atmosphere felt as if some presence was watching her, observing her from head to toe. A presence with the face of a stunningly beautiful woman. The problem was, Widya didn't know whose face it was. With every pour of water over her head, she closed her eyes. And every time she did, that beautiful woman's face flashed in her mind, smiling at her. Who was it? And then, the chant began again. Widya turned around, listening. The voice came from outside the stall, right where Nur was standing alone. Was it Nur who was chanting? The question lodged itself sharply in her mind. The evening bath ended. On the way home, Widya stole glances at Nur, studying her, almost disbelieving. Then she finally asked, Nur, you can sing Japanese chant, right? Nur looked at Widya and said nothing. She walked away without saying a single word, as if carrying a secret she refused to share. The night came. This village used fuel generator as electricity, so when it's 9 a.m. they switched to kerosene lamp. Nur has fallen asleep, leaving Widya and Ayu alone, working on their KKN report. But then Ayu said something that caught Widya's interest. Earlier, I went with Bima to check the progress of the drainage work. When we circled around the village, do you remember Tapak Tilas? Turns out, not far from there was an old building that looked like a sanggar. Oh yeah, a sanggar is a building that is used for practice dancing and art. But hearing this, Widya froze, processing Ayu's sentence. Wait, you already know you weren't allowed to go there. Ayu defended herself. It wasn't me. It was Bima who asked me to go. He said he saw a beautiful woman walking in that direction. But when he followed her, she suddenly disappeared. Then why did you go there? I told you I was following Bima. What? Should I just let that boy run off and disappear? Their argument stopped there, but the feeling lingered. Because the night was getting late, Widya went to the bathroom. There, he saw Nur fast asleep. Ayu also followed soon. She hoped that the night would pass quickly. But suddenly, she heard footsteps. When she looked around, she saw Nur leaving the house. So Widya followed her outside. Now the night was dark and it's hard to see anything. No one was around, it was quiet outside. But then Widya saw Nur in the front yard. She danced so gracefully, barefoot, moving with the fluidity of a professional dancer. Widya called her out, Nur, Nur. But Nur kept dancing, moving her body elegantly. Though her eyes were sharp and unsettling, kept stealing glances at Widya. From a distance, the sound of gamelan came back, blending with Nur's dance, as if she had danced in the perfect rhythm with the unseen music. Widya wanted to run back inside, but her leg wouldn't move. Nur's movement grew wilder, and a strange smile curled on her lips. Finally, Widya forced herself to step forward and shouted, demanding Nur to stop whatever she was doing. And that was when Nur's face changed, twisting into something horrifying. Her eyes were nearly pitch black. Widya screamed at the top of her lungs. Next thing she knew, someone was shaking her heart. Wait, Widya! Wake up! Are you crazy? Why are you dancing in the middle of the night? It was Wahyu. Her scream has woken up everyone. They all stared at her, including Nur and the owner of the house. who had just come out of the house. Turns out it was Widya who had been dancing all along. Wahyu tell everyone that when she wants to take a cigarette break, she saw someone dancing in the field. When he inspected closer, she then realized that it was Widya. Everyone can only stay silent when they heard that. And the owner of the house asked everyone to go home because it was getting late. The next morning came. Mr. Prabhu asked how it all happened. Widya said that she was chasing Noor outside. But Noor said she was just getting water in the kitchen. All of this explanation didn't help. But from Mr. Prabhu's expression, he was more interested in how Widya danced. Because Widya said she never learned how to dance before. That day, Mr. Prabhu asked Ayu, Widya, and Wahyu to accompany him. So they went with the motorbike, passing the same trail that they have once used to get to this village. The weird thing is, now Widya felt it herself, that the journey to the main road doesn't take an hour. It doesn't even take 30 minutes. It was a different experience from when she first arrived at this village. Strange, isn't it? Now they were going to someone's house. Crossing that road and into another trail, they arrived at a lone house in the middle of the forest. It was a decent house, more decent from any other house in the village. In front was an old man, standing there as if she had known she will have visitor today. But no one knew the old man's names. Mr. Prabhu called him Mbah Buyut, or great-grandfather in English. Mr. Prabhu told him everything, but his face was flat. She was not interested. He then walked to the kitchen and bring 5 glasses of black coffee. He invited them to drink the coffee. At first, Widya refused, saying she never had coffee before. But Mbah Buyut's smile made her reluctant, so she drank it, even if it's just one sip. The coffee was so sweet and there's an jasmine aroma in it. At first, she only tried it a little, until without even realizing it, she emptied the whole glass. Not just Widya, everyone was asked to try the coffee. It's not good to refuse the host offering, he said. So everyone drank it, but the moment Ayu and Wahyu drank it, they were shocked and immediately spit it out. The coffee was bitter, so bitter that your throat won't tolerate it. Meanwhile, Mr. Prabhu just drank it casually. Mbah Buyut then speak using a Javanese language so soft, none of the students understand what he said. He did say something about dancer and occupant, but they don't understand the rest of it. He also pointed at Widya's face with a serious expression. Mr. Prabhu listened carefully, then say goodbye and leave. But before leaving, Mbah Buyut placed a turmeric on Widya's forehead. He said it was to protect Widya. Now everyone was confused what was this visit about. Patience. Mr. Prabhu revealed that the coffee that was served to them was a special coffee. A black coffee specially prepared to summon hidden entity, ghosts, or other like spirit. It was not meant for a human. Anyone who had never tasted before would almost certainly vomit. But to the spirits and beings of their kinds, the coffee was incredibly sweet. At that moment, everyone glared at Widya. Mr. Prabhu then said, "Sorry, child. Something is following you." But Mr. Prabhu also said she doesn't need to worry, and that nothing bad will happen to her. It's just she was being followed, and from now on she can't be left alone. Someone must always accompany her. And for that to happen, Mr. Prabhu ordered all of them, Ayu, Widya, Noor, Bima, Wahyu, and Anton, to stay on another house, a bigger one. And they all stay there. Wahyu approached Widya and tell her things that he didn't say last night. Widya said that Bima always went out in the middle of the night and came back in the morning. And that sometimes he speak on his own in the bathroom and laugh alone. But the most surprising thing is, Bima was actually in last night's incident, but she was just watching Widya from the window. That night, everyone gathered at the house. Noor was in the bathroom, doing prayer. Widya was alone in the middle room. Ayu, Wahyu, and Anton was chatting in the front yard. Bima was in a meeting with Mr. Prabhu. But suddenly, Widya heard the Javanese chant from the kitchen. And to get there, she passed the bathroom where Noor was kneeling on her head, praying. The sound slowly became more clear as she approached the kitchen. And when she opened the curtain of the kitchen, she saw Noor there, drinking water from the clay teapot, still in her prayer gown. And she was like, "That was Noor? Who was in the bathroom?" Widya froze until Noor finished drinking and saw her. Noor called Widya. "Wait, what's wrong?" But Widya immediately ran to the bathroom, and Noor wasn't there. Widya went pale. She was trembling until everyone in the house came to her, worried. And Anton there asked Noor to give Widya some water. Nur returned with the clay teapot she recently used to drink and gave it to Widya. Widya drank from it, but suddenly, Widya stopped. Still holding the teapot, her right hand went into her mouth, and she pulled out long hair from her throat. So she was like, ugh. Everyone was shocked, and when they opened the lid, there were lumps of hair in the teapot. Widya vomited violently. But the weird thing is, Nur was drinking from the same teapot earlier, but she was okay. In that moment, Anton said, "You are targeted with." My grandparents said, if hair suddenly appeared, then you must have been cursed or being targeted by spirit. Then Nur said it. Wait, is the dancer still following you? Because since yesterday, I haven't seen her behind you. Widya fell sick for 3 days. And during that time, she could do nothing but lay on the mat in the bedroom. Nur never continued her story. She said that she had already said too much and that she should have held it back. While Widya was bedridden, she was often left alone in that house. And during those days, something happened. Something that Widya would never forget for the rest of her life. It all began when she was lying on the mat. Ayu and Nur has left to continue their KKN program. The boys were also away working on their own tasks. On that day, there was not a single person in the house. She heard a sound, something being struck repeatedly. It sparked her curiosity. It sounded like two metal plates clashing. At first, Widya ignored it. But the longer it went on, the harder it became to endure. Finally, she decided to check. The sound came from behind the house, right beside the kitchen. So Widya went there. When she reached the wooden kitchen door, she stopped. Through a narrow gap in the door, she peeked outside. And she froze. Between the banana trees, she saw an older man, maybe around 50. He wore black clothes like he was about to work in the garden. He stood there amongst the tree, staring directly at the house, where Widya and her friends staying during the KKN. For a long time, the man just stood there, watching the house. His movement was suspicious, like he wanted to enter but hesitated. Fear suddenly rose inside Widya. She stayed silent, barely breathing. After several minutes, the man finally turned around and walked away, leaving the place. Relief washed over her as the man finally left. Widya intended to go back to her room, and there she saw Anton entering the house. They crossed paths. Foolishly, Widya didn't tell him or anyone about what she had seen. Because the next day, the same thing happened again. It started with the same loud noise. Widya peeked through the gap again. But this time, the old man was bolder. He looked around, approached the house, and several times tried to pierce inside. From his movement, it was clear that he was up to no good. The real question was, what exactly was he looking for there? As the thought crossed her mind, Widya suddenly remembered. She was alone in this house. A woman, alone inside, with a strange man slowly approaching. What else could it imply? As the old man reached the kitchen door, that loud noise struck again. The sound came from a stone behind the kitchen, so loud that it startled the man, making him sprint away in panic. Widya saw it with her own eyes. Someone had thrown a fairly large rock at the river stone behind the house. The man panicked and ran away. Widya also fled from the scene. She reported everything to Mr. Prabhu, who was just as shocked. They searched for the man and found him. He was indeed a villager. When asked what he was doing near the student house, he gave an answer that was difficult to believe. He said he had seen a woman dressed like a traditional dancer. He claimed that she entered the house, but because he feared being accused of wrongdoings, he tried to check quietly. On the day that he ran away in terror, he said he saw something in the kitchen. He saw that the same woman went inside, dancing gracefully. But before he could see her face, he was shocked half to death. Because behind what he thought was a beautiful face, the dancer was faceless. There was nothing, no shape at all. His story sounded unbelievable, but Mr. Prabhu had no other evidence to challenge him. He simply warned the man not to do such things again. The man left. Shortly after that, Widya fully recovered and began to do her KKN again. That day, Wahyu asked her out to accompany him to the town, and Widya saw it as a chance to get out of the village for a while, so she agreed. Wahyu and Widya went to the town using a landed motorbike. They stopped at the market and bought all of their necessities. Before returning, Wahyu stopped at a gas station because it was an unwritten ethic to return someone's vehicle with a full tank. So Wahyu refilled the gas. And while waiting, Widya buys some snacks from a street vendor. Everything went normal. The street vendor engaged in a conversation with them until he asked if they were newcomers. Wahyu and Widya then explained that they were there to do their KKN in a village. The vendor warned them that it's nearly dawn and that they should go back to the village tomorrow. But Wahyu and Widya refused, saying that they're fine. The vendor then said, "May I ask your time a bit?" The street vendor then began to explain to them what they should do once they're inside the forest. He said that they must continue their journey no matter what. Even if they heard a sound within a physical form, do not stop. Even if something bad happened, but they still can continue their journey, then continue. Do not stop. And don't forget to pray. The street vendor was so serious, it scares Widya. So they continued their journey. The night came, and it was so dark inside the forest. Only the light of their headlamps pierced into the darkness, and the sound of the exhaust broke the silence. Wahyu tried to crack a joke, asking Widya what will they do if the motorbike broke down. But then, the motorcycle actually broke down. Widya was furious, calling Wahyu an idiot for joking like that. They pushed the motorbike through the trails in the darkness of the forest until they heard something, a sound of wedding party. Widya immediately reminded Wahyu about what the street vendor said. They must continue no matter what happened, and don't stop even if they heard or see things. So they continued to walk. The sound of the wedding party became more louder and clear, followed by a laughing sound from the people there. But then they saw it. Right beside the trail, on a field, a wedding party was being held, complete with stage for music performance. Widya and Wahyu froze for a long time, trying to make sure what they were seeing was indeed humans. But then out of nowhere, an old man asked them if their motorcycle has broken down. Without hesitation, the old man called some younger men to fix their motorbike and invited Widya and Wahyu to rest while waiting. The atmosphere was so alive. Everyone is busy doing their own things. Some is joking around, some is talking with each other, some is dancing to the music. Wahyu whispered to Widya, "I didn't know there's any village around here." Widya just stayed silent. She observed everything, including the bride, and the empty space at the stage in front of the gamelan players. But then Widya saw a dancer was led to the stage. She smelled familiar scent of jasmine. The dancer started to dance, and every eyes was looking at her as she danced gracefully. The old man returned to them, offering some food to eat. Wahyu immediately ate all of it while chatting with the old man. It all just went like a normal wedding party. And when the dancer finished dancing, the old man said that their motorbike is fixed. And true, the motorbike was on. Widya and Wahyu thanked the old man for helping them and said goodbye before leaving. The old man packed some food for them. He showed them that it was the same food that Wahyu had ate earlier, then wrapped it inside a newspaper. He also told them to be careful. Widya and Wahyu thanked him again, then left. Once they reached the village, Wahyu immediately told his friends that they had just experienced something spectacular. On the way back here, our motorcycle broke down, and we were helped by other village. They were having a wedding party. The party was so fun and the food was so delicious. The dancer was so beautiful. But instead of getting warm welcome, all of them, Ayu, Nur, Bima, and Anton, looked at him with confusion. There isn't any other village around here. But Wahyu refused to listen to them. "If you don't believe me, ask Widya here. Wait, show them the food that was packed for us." But Widya just froze there. Running out of patience, Wahyu took Widya back and pulled out the packed food. But she was shocked to see that the wrapping was not newspaper anymore. It had turned into a banana leaf. And when he opened it, everyone there saw a severed monkey head, still fresh with blood and mucus. After that incident, Wahyu locked himself up for 3 days. And every time he remembers it, he vomits. Now my question is, what did Wahyu eat at the wedding party? The day went on, until one night, Widya had just gotten home from doing her KKN program. The house was empty. She saw no one was there, until she heard a high-pitched laughter from the kitchen. In that moment, she was sure there's something in this house. She went to the kitchen and slid the curtain. She saw Nur sitting in a wooden chair, her eyes staring at the spot where Widya stood. She was still wearing her prayer garments, as if she had just finished praying and haven't taken it all off yet. Only why was she sitting still like that? Nur, what are you doing? Widya asked. Nur stayed silent. Her eyes were empty, hollow, and then Vidya saw Nur slowly lower her head while still in that sitting position, as if she had just fallen asleep at the chair. It made Vidya panic and rush closer. Vidya shook her body. Nur didn't budge. When Vidya tried to touch her face, it was cold to the touch. Nur suddenly jolted awake and glared at her. Her expression shifted to something angry, furious. Pretty girl. That was the first thing that Vidya heard from Nur. Only the voice wasn't Nur's. It sounded like a voice of an old woman. Shrill, quivering, the kind that made the hair on the back of Vidya's neck stand up. When Vidya tried to step back, a hand had already clamped tightly on her wrist. You like it living here, don't you? So, pretty girl, have you met the entity of this village, Badarahui? Vidya began to cry. Hey now, pretty girl, you mustn't cry. That is not good. Nur's eyes were still bulging wide. Her nails gripped into Vidya's wrist as she gripped her tightly. Even that handsome boy already met Badarahui, you know? Vidya tried to reach out to Nur. Nur only laughed louder, sharper. Her laugh didn't sound human. It froze Vidya where she stood. You don't understand who I am? Do you think that without me, that reckless friends of yours who brought spirit here could harm my grandchild? I am the one who had been guarding Nur all this time. I won't let those spirits come near my grandchild. Understand? Hurt her how, Grandma? Pretty girl. One of your friends will not return. If you haven't realized yet, everything will happen as it must. Warn them. That handsome boy will bring disaster, dragging everyone in this village into calamity. After saying that, Nur screamed, loud, piercing, then collapsed to the floor. Vidya carried Nur back to her room, staying by her side until she woke up from her fainting spell. And as Vidya expected, Nur doesn't remember. Nur had no idea why he had fallen asleep. But Vidya then asked, since when could you see those things? Nur then told her everything. He said that the unseen is real, and that every person has something that guarded them. The type are different. Some are evil, some are good, some just followed around, and some are just passing by. Vidya asked Nur if something was guarding her. Nur said, they say I do, but she never seen it herself. Her friend told her before she left the boarding school. They said the one that was guarding Nur takes the forms of Nur's late grandmother. The day went on, until the cursed night finally came. That night, Vidya saw Bima going out in the middle of the night. Curious, Vidya asked Wahyu and Anton to follow Bima, but they refused. Curiosity got the better of her, and she followed Bima alone to the forbidden place, Tapak Tilas. She followed Bima till the end of the footpath, but she was stopped by dense bushes. But somehow, unconsciously, she kept on going until her mouth was chewing bushes. The inside of her throat was scratched by the stem of the bushes. She kept on going until she found a footstep leading down below. She slowly descended and heard someone chanting. Once on the ground, there she saw it, the building that Ayu once told her. It looked like a town hall. She began to hear gamelan music playing from there. But the moment she stepped on the ladder leading to that hall, the gamelan music stopped, as if her presence was not welcome. Then she heard Ayu voice crying. But no matter where she searched for Ayu, she was nowhere to be found. Then something else caught her attention. A hut. She heard Bima's voice from inside, followed by moans of a girl. She didn't dare to open the door of this hut, so she circled around the hut, trying to find a crack to peek inside. And when she finally found one, she saw Bima inside a spring, surrounded by green snakes. All of them looked the same. What made it worse was, Bima and all of the snake dares glared at Vidya as if they know there's an uninvited guest. Without a second thought, Vidya immediately ran away. But in that moment, she heard it again, the gamelan music playing. This time it was followed by laughter from the crowd. And when she looked at the hall that was once empty when she first arrived, now it was full of ghosts, from end to end. Some of them has their eyes bulging. Some of them only have half of their faces. Some of them doesn't even have face. Some are short. Some are as tall as a tree. Vidya cried as she saw all of it. But suddenly, all of the sound and voices stopped. Every single entity there was watching someone dance. Then Vidya realized it. It was Ayu. Ayu's eyes were swollen as if she had been crying. but her expression was like she was asking Widya to run away. Without knowing what happened, Widya ran past the crowd that was watching Ayu dance. She climbed the ladder, still crying as loud as ever. Widya then saw a black dog. It barked at her, and she followed it to the footpath. Widya got out of that place and met locals who was shocked to see her. They immediately called out the others and said Widya had been found. A woman approached her and hugged her, comforting Widya who was crying. They brought Widya back to the place where they were staying. Everyone in the village was there, looked shocked when they saw Widya, as if they seen a ghost. Mr. Prabhu was angry. He asked where Widya had been, but the woman calmed him down and let Widya inside. As they moved through the doorway, Widya heard Noor screaming, crying like she had lost her mind. When she entered the room and saw what was happening, Widya froze again. The room was filled with people sitting cross-legged, forming a circle around two bodies lying stiffly on the floor. Their bodies were wrapped in white cloth and tied with white ropes, like a burial shroud. Wahyu and Anton looked up, shocked when Widya stepped in. Where have you been? Noor cries as she threw herself in Widya's arms. What happened, Noor? Widya asked. Noor covered her mouth, unable to decide where to begin. Wahyu stood up instead. He said that Ayu suddenly collapsed and completely stiff. Her eyes went closed. Widya moved closer to Ayu. Beside her lay Bima. His body kept twitching and kicking, despite being tied down, like someone having a seizure. His empty eyes stared straight to the ceiling, both of them lying there, helpless. Widya screamed, unable to contain herself. From the kitchen, Mbah Buyut stepped out. He stepped out and saw Widya, and called her. I just finished making some coffee. Mbah Buyut sat on a wooden chair in the kitchen. He stared at Widya for a long moment before finally speaking. Your friend has crossed the line. How, Mbah? Widya asked. What does it feel being surrounded? What does it feel like being surrounded by spirits from the entire forest? Mbah Buyut kept stirring the coffee. His eyes was fixed on Widya, who was slowly regaining her senses. Widya took a sip of the coffee that Mbah Buyut handed her. A sharp, overwhelming bitterness stabbed her throat, making it feel as if she was being choked. She immediately gagged and spit it out. When she looked up, she saw Mbah Buyut was nodding, as if confirming something. Your friend broke a grave taboo, a kind of prohibition that not even human can tolerate, let alone spirits. Mbah Buyut slowly shook his head. Do you understand, child? Widya nodded. The Sindan you were working on is a twin, one by the riverside, and the other, the one that you visited last night. Do you know what the Sindan is used for? No, Mbah, Widya replied softly. The Sindan is a bathing place of the dancer before they perform. Now the one near the river is fine to approach, but the other one? That place must never be visited, let alone used for sex. Widya felt her stomach twist. Do you understand now, child? Do you know who was in that Sindan? Widya fell silent for a long time, before whispering, A snake, Mbah. Yes, Mbah Buyut nodded. What you saw was a snake, the offerings of Bima and... That snake, Mbah? Widya asked, horrified. Mbah Buyut nodded again. That's how it is. I slipped up. You were only meant to use as a distraction, so I could keep my eyes on you. But I was wrong. From the beginning, it wasn't you that they were after, but your friend. Mbah Buyut fell quiet, as if he didn't want to speak the creature's name. Then what now, Mbah? Can Ayu and Bima still come back? Widya asked, her voice trembling. They can, Mbah Buyut replied, as long as the curse is lifted. The curse is lifted? Widya echoed, confused. Bima and Ayu has gone too far. They must bear the consequences of what they've done. Ayu, from now on, must dance. She must dance through this entire forest, dance across every stretch of land. Mbah Buyut continued, stirring his cooling coffee. And Bima, Mbah? Widya asked. Bima must marry the one who owns the Sindan. Badara Hui, Mbah? Widya whispered. Mbah Buyut stiffened in surprise. Oh, so you already know her names. Badara Hui is one of the guardians of this region. Her duty is to dance. The spirit, they love watching her dance. Now Ayu must take her place. Widya felt her chest tighten. And Bima must marry Badara Hui. Her children takes form of snakes. When she gives birth, thousands of them can emerge at once. It's your friend's doing. Bah Buyut said with a resigned shake of his head. They committed something reckless in that place. Now they must face the consequences. Badara Hui, she is the queen of snakes, a spirit born of ancient power. Her curse cannot be refused, let alone being cast away. Tomorrow morning, I will try to speak with her as gently as I can. I fear your friend may not return alive. With that, Mbah Buyut walked away. Nur, Wahyu, and Anton found Widya alone in the kitchen, sitting still, staring blankly, lost in the weight of everything that she had just learned. Their KKN ended. The very next morning, the family and the people from the university came to pick them up. Ayu was still laying stiff, and Bima was still shivering. Widya and Nur begged, truly begged, that Ayu and Bima be allowed to stay in the village. Mbah Buyut had said their fate could still be negotiated, that the curse may still be lifted. But Ayu and Bima's family refused. No matter what they were told, they insisted on taking them home. And the result? Ayu can only sleep with her eyes open, unblinking, unmoving. Widya once heard from Ayu's mother that sometimes Ayu's eyes shed tears on their own, streaming down her cheeks. But when they asked her anything, she never answered, not a word. After 3 months of care, Ayu finally passed away. Her older brother was overwhelmed with guilt, angry enough that he nearly stormed the village in rage. Mr. Prabu felt the same. He regretted allowing Ayu to do their KKN program there. He had known from the beginning that the place wasn't meant for young students, children who were still naive and unprepared. And Bima, he passed away too. The night before his death, Bima screamed for help. When people rushed to him and asked him what's wrong, Bima only cried out one word over and over again. Snakes, snakes, snakes. And though his parents initially wanted to escalate the issues with the campus, they eventually withdrew the complaints. The campus agreed on one condition. The KKN program will never be held at the east of Java again. From that moment on, the university only allowed KKN placement to the west, never again to the east, and especially never to remote village like that again. At the end, the writer leaves us a message. Wherever you are, always uphold good manners, respect one another, and behave as a true civilized human beings. So, we finally reached the end of the story. Let's just pray for the well-being of everyone involved. Whether you choose to believe this story or not is entirely up to you. What matters is we take the moral lessons from this incident and continue to spread positive energy. If you believe it really happened, then let this story be a reminder. And if you don't, then simply treat it as a night tale. So, what do you think about the story? Let me know in the comment down below. On the next video, I'll be discussing Nur's perspective. Thank you all for watching. See you guys in the next video.